2018 Porsche 911 GT2 RS. When we first drove the Cayman GT4, we suggested that the lowliest motorsport-grade Porsche road car was basically a getaway drug, the sort of entry-level thrill that, as Reefer Madness warned our grandparents, would lead to more serious and expensive addictions. Now, nearly 3 years later, we've met the automotive narcotic that sits at the top of that scale. On the basis of our first hit in Portugal, we suspect the new Porsche 911 GT2 RS could be the most potent automotive psychotropic of them all. The name isn't hard to decode, and we understand if your first instinct is to feel that this will be a familiar story. While GT3 versions of the 911 use higher revving naturally aspirated engines to give what is almost a perfect balance between performance and grip, GT2s use turbocharged engines to deliver a more brutish appeal and a generous excess of power. The RS addendum stands for Rennsport and indicates this car's track-centric mission. Whereas the previous generation GT2 had an already gratuitous 620 horsepower, this new 991 edition moves that number up to a credibility-stretching 700 horses, courtesy of a twin-turbocharged 3.8-liter flat-six with a water-spraying system to cool its intake charge. Peak torque, a modest 553 pounds-to-foot, is delivered to the rear wheels through a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transaxle, PDK. Unlike the GT3, there is no manual option. That's because the GT2 RS is built for speed, both in a straight line and around road racing circuits. Its statistics are as eye-popping as you would expect for the fastest ever factory-built 911. Some obsessive trimming of mass extends so far as to include both lightweight carpets and extra-thin glass closely related to that used in cell phone screens. The optional weight trimming hatch package shaves 40 pounds at the cost of an extra $31,000. With Porsche claiming a curb weight of just 3,241 pounds, although that means foregoing both the infotainment system and air conditioning. Small wonder that Porsche claims a 2.7-second 0 to 60 mph time and that we estimate the car can burn a quarter mile in 10.3 seconds. The top speed is, get this, limited to 211 mph, in the interest of keeping the track-biased tires in one piece. All such figures are subsidiary to the one number that Porsche's motorsport engineers are proudest of, the one that defines the car's core purpose. That would be 6:47.3, the lap time the car recently posted around the Nürburgring Nordschleife to take the production car record there. That is a dizzying 31 seconds quicker than the previous 997 generation GT2 RS and 10 seconds inside the time set by the 918 Spider, a previous record holder. Meaning the $294,250 GT2 has the legs on a model that, when last sold new, cost nearly 3 times as much. It's a bargain. Weapons-grade technology. We've already told you about much of the GT2 RS's technology overload, from the carbon fiber anti-roll bars and their end links that are part of the hatch package to the water cooling system that draws from the 1.3-gallon tank of distilled water at the bottom of the front-mounted trunk. The question now is how it drives, and the answer is both with a brutality that will delight those in search of the ultimate 911, but also without the bad manners that gave its predecessors their scary characters. The 996 generation GT2 was the first to be made in significant numbers, and it quickly earned a reputation to rival that of the Lockheed F-100 Starfighter. That was the overpowered and frequently unstable Cold War fighter that, in German military service, crashed often enough to earn the nickname of Widowmaker, a moniker that was applied to the GT2, as it had been to 911 turbo models, thanks to its combination of huge power and snappy handling as it approaches the limits. The 997 generation GT2 and its more hardcore RS spin-off were both less wayward but still needed to be treated with the respect fit for a touchy mafia capo in anything other than perfect conditions. Which makes it all the more remarkable how easily one can deploy the new model's enormous performance, both on the road and in its native environs of a racetrack. Money is not wasted here on comfort or fripperies. The GT2's cabin is sparse and can be made positively Spartan if, as Porsche had done with the hatchback examples provided for our drive, the air conditioning and infotainment system have been deleted to pare mass. Even in the modest warmth of a Portuguese autumn, the cabin becomes too hot when ventilated using only ambient air. Standard carbon fiber bucket seats with fixed backrests brace occupants at an angle suitably upright for motorsports. Even a fully equipped GT2 RS lacks many amenities that come standard in the cheaper, plusher Turbo S, with the doors using fabric pull straps instead of handles and most of the button spaces surrounding the gear selector being blanks. Strangely, although the hatch shift paddles have been swapped to carbon fiber to save a reported 0.4 pound, a fully stripped GT2 still has a pair of deployable cup holders in the dashboard. There are no rear seats. European buyers can order a Club Sport package that adds a substantial roll cage in the empty rear space, but this equipment doesn't pass US crash regulations. Regardless, this isn't a car anyone will buy for the toys. Neither will it be favored by those seeking refinement. While most modern 911s have become quiet and relaxed, the GT2 RS shortcuts straight back to the origin of the species. The engine fills the cabin with a heavy exhaust note at idle, the rear-mounted flat six throwing up bass-heavy harmonics under even gentle progress as the ball-jointed suspension can be heard and felt working. There are rattles and vibrations that would never be allowed in a lesser 911. The driver and passenger sit close enough to allow for conversation, but higher speeds require raised voices. The ride is firm enough to set surplus flesh wobbling over even apparently smooth roads, although this improves markedly as speeds increase. GT development boss Andreas Reuninger says that his team wanted to make the GT2 RS feel turbocharged, rather than follow the modern trend of trying to hide evidence of forced induction. In this, they have been entirely successful. The engine is tractable but truculent at low revs, pulling cleanly but with limited enthusiasm until the tachometer needle passes north of 2,500 revolutions per minute. Beyond that, the turbos add boost with rapidly increasing vigor, giving the GT2 the sense of exponential acceleration that used to define turbocharged engines. Peak power arrives at 7,000 revolutions per minute, just 200 revolution per minute shy of the limiter. At home on a track. While quite effective on the road, the RS truly excels on a track. Porsche arranged for harsher interrogation of the car on the Portimão circuit in the Algarve, a circuit with enough elevation changes to make it a Portuguese Laguna Seca. The GT2 proved mightily impressive on the 2.9-mile-long combination of corners and gradients, with higher speeds revealing a different side to its personality. The RS remains adjective-stretchingly fast, able to gain on the Porsche 918 Spider that was being used as a pace car on Portimão's longer straights, a haze of heat rising from the back of the hybrid as it worked to stay ahead. Track loadings allowed for more exploration of how the RS behaves as its Himalayan limits approach. Yes, it will understeer if too much speed is carried into slow corners, and the rear will slide in response to optimistically early applications of the throttle, yet it still feels remarkably friendly for something so fast and powerful. The carbon ceramic brakes are also worthy of special praise. These perform well on the street, albeit at the expense of some low-speed grumbling, but at Portimão, aided by the aqueducts in the front trunk lid, which feed air to the front brakes, they proved tireless, hauling the GT2 down from high velocities time and again without a hint of fade. Apex Predator 911. The GT2 RS is a pinnacle car, one that sits at the top of the Porsche range in terms of both its price and its level of performance. If you want the fastest and the most viscerally thrilling version, then this is undoubtedly it, the ultimate incarnation of the road-going 911 to date. This is a sports car that can humble most exotics on a track and a remarkable achievement for the team that developed it. The only certainty on past experience is that, at some point in the not-too-distant future, Porsche will create something even faster. But is this the best GT-badged 911? That depends on what you expect from such a car. For many, its performance alone answers the question in the affirmative, But its brutality also throws the subtler appeals of the GT3 into sharper relief. The naturally aspirated car feels like a scalpel. In comparison, the GT2 RS is a chainsaw. So it all depends on what sort of surgery you intend to perform.
2019 McLaren Senna. We've been telling you about McLaren's plans for a new Ultimate Series hypercar for some time, a project heretofore known only by its P15 internal project code. This is the stripped-out super performer that insiders promised would be quicker around a racetrack than the seminal P1. The fundamental ingredients, an overabundance of power in an extremely lightweight package, were already known, so it seemed that the only secrets left to spill would be the relative quantities of those, as well as the final exterior design. We were wrong. McLaren managed to keep the best secret under wraps until the car's official unveiling, its name. Meet the McLaren Senna. There's a certain Ferrari Enzo quality to this news, both in the decision to dig into the brand's illustrious motorsports history for its most extreme project, Ayrton Senna having won all three of his Formula One drivers' championships with the team, and also for the confidence that it projects. Swaggering with purpose. After something of a shaky start with the original MP412C, McLaren has become a brand that most definitely has its swagger on, buoyed by rave reviews for the new 720S and strong sales for the entry-level 570 models. The company has also proved capable of selling out every limited edition before officially confirming their existence, with the two-seat Senna being the latest case in point. The total production run of 500 units is already spoken for despite a price tag that, in the United States, is likely to run very close to seven figures as delivered. The same applies for its Grand Tourer sibling, the three-seat BP23, which is McLaren's other current Ultimate Series project. There are owners' names attached to each of the full run of those 106 cars, this before final details have even been confirmed. We're told that many buyers have opted for one of each. Sounds like it's fun at the top. Heavy-hitting lightweight. Aside from its name, the Senna has plenty more to invoke. It is designed for track use first and foremost. The idea is less daily driver than a car that is street legal for drives to and from the track. That has led to some serious mass saving, including the development of an even lighter form of carbon fiber, and although the power output is impressive, the clean weight is even more extraordinary. McLaren says that it has turned up its twin-turbo 4.0-liter V8 to produce a claimed peak of 789 horsepower and 590 pounds-to-foot of torque. The hybrid P1 had a total system output of 903 horses, but the Senna does without the electrical components, motor, and battery pack and their attendant weight. McLaren says that, in its lightest possible configuration, the Senna weighs just 2,641 pounds dry. We'll see when we get one on our scales. More relevant is that this is over 400 pounds lighter than the company's estimation of the P1's mass and just under 400 pounds heavier than the dry weight it cites for the original McLaren F1. Official performance estimates haven't been issued, but we can safely presume they will be equally astonishing. Given that the 720S is already quicker around most racetracks than was the P1, we can bet that the Senna will raise the bar by several additional notches. Aero-sculpted. The styling of the Senna, like that of the Enzo that debuted 15 years ago, is more brutal than beautiful, the result of the car's mission for uncompromised performance and the consequent need for aerodynamic efficiency. The potential path of every air molecule passing over its many surfaces has been carefully considered, from extra compact radiators in the nose to the need to direct clean airflow over the vast rear wing, underhung from its supports like an endurance racer's and with a total surface area of 1,007 square inches across its various elements. Like the Ford GT, the Senna will hunker down into an extra low race mode to reduce drag and increase air grip further, the drop of nearly 2 inches putting the tops of the rear wheels inside the arches. The wing can tilt forward to increase downforce or backward to take its main element out of the airflow to improve speed in a straight line. There also are 2 movable flaps inside the air intakes on both sides of the front bumper that will be used to increase or decrease aerodynamic grip at the front and keep the car in balance. McLaren is staying coy about the exact downforce numbers. When we try to discuss the substantial loads that the burly wing supports are clearly designed to handle, vehicle line director Andy Palmer, no relation to the Aston Martin CEO of the same name, showed no visible dissent when we speculated that the peak figure could well be greater than the weight of the car itself. This might be the first road-going car to boast the theoretical capability of driving on the ceiling. Minimalist accommodation. In contrast with the extremism everywhere else, the interior offers the bare minimum. The seats are little more than padding on lightweight frames. They can be sized for individual drivers, while the controls have been pared down to just a central touch screen. The engine start button and the releases for the 2 top hinge doors are located overhead. A compartment behind the seats just big enough for 2 racing helmets and suits constitutes the entirety of the luggage accommodation. The side windows are split and feature fixed upper panels with an inset portion that opens, similar to those on the McLaren F1, and the Subaru SVX and the DeLorean DMC-12. The car McLaren showed us also featured additional fixed glass below the beltline to maximize apex spotting opportunities on the track. Glass weighs more than carbon fiber, even the lightweight, smartphone-type glass that McLaren has spec'd, so these actually carry a weight penalty. Getting the lightest possible Senna will mean losing the additional visibility provided by the lower windows and ordering carbon panels in their stead, as well as foregoing the lightweight audio system and the glass partition between the passenger compartment and the mid-mounted engine bay. Other weight-saving measures have been conducted with the fastidious diligence of the truly obsessed. As with every McLaren road car, the Senna's chassis uses a carbon fiber tub. This one is called the Monocage 3 and is responsible for 40 pounds of saved mass over the previous Monocage 2. The engine still mounts to an aluminum substructure and there is a partial metal crash structure up front, but almost every other part of the structure is finished in carbon fiber, including a new extra thin weave that will be used for non-structural external parts. We're told that the front fenders weigh just 1.4 pounds each, compared with 4.9 for the same pieces on the 720S. The forged aluminum wheels have been made even lighter through clever design, with the decision to use center locks rather than studs making it possible to symmetrically design them with 9 spokes rather than 10. Even the license plate holders are designed to be easy to detach to shave mass and improve aerodynamics on the track. The Senna also gets a new type of carbon ceramic brake disc, motorsports grade CCMR made by Brembo, which uses a new compound with 3.5 times better thermal conductivity than previous generation carbon ceramic rotors, meaning they can be made smaller and lighter. Track-biased Pirelli P0 Trufio R tires will be standard, but more road-friendly rubber can be swapped in if buyers want. Or just buy sets of each and hire a man to swap them for you. Say its name. According to McLaren, its deal with the Senna Foundation to use the iconic driver's name is limited to this car. If so, that's a shame, as the perfect title for the production spec BP23 3-seater would surely be the Ayrton. Deliveries will start next year, and although US pricing hasn't been confirmed, any punitive American buyers will already know if they have made the cut. In the United Kingdom the car costs £750,000, including Britain's 20% VAT sales tax. That's equivalent to $837,000 before tax at current exchange rates, barely more than the McLaren F1 cost 23 years ago.